Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Wormpal, the coach of the Stavanger Vikingvolts, and welcome back to the finals of Season 1 of the UDN. The Stavanger Vikingvolts made it all the way to the finals, which I am very happy about. It's a lot better than I thought I would do in this league, so even if I don't win this last battle, I'm very proud of my performance this season. In the quarterfinals, we beat the Copenhagen K9s. In the semifinals, we beat the Honolulu Dancers. And now, in the finals, we are taking on the Sherbrooke Venusaurs, coached by Lord Sorwak, a great battler. Go check out his YouTube channel. Link is in the description. You can see his team over on the right. And if you've been on my channel for a while, you can see that this team is actually a little familiar. Mega Venusaur, Tornadoes T, Metagross. Where have we seen that before? Yes, the New Jersey Noctowls. I don't know if I talked about it in my last battle against U-Turned and him in week 9, but a few weeks after last time we played him, U-Turned left the league. He quit playing Pokemon and deleted his YouTube channel, everything, and so that is kind of sad, but that did mean we had to get a replacement, and Lord Zorak is that replacement. And his team is very similar to the old team. You see a lot of similar stuff like Mega Venusaur and Tornadoes T. But he did also make a few changes, notably swapping Manaphy for Mimikyu and Mismagius for Slowking, and two more that I don't remember, but you can see the changes to the team on the right. So this was actually the one team I did not want to face in playoffs, since even though I did beat U-Turned twice, both in week 3 and 9, I really didn't feel like I deserved any of those wins. Or in week 3 I played decent, but in the second battle against him I won only because I got 4 fully paralyzes on his Mega Venusaur. And I feel like my matchup against this team is very bad, so it was definitely not fun to prep for. Zorak did switch out the Manaphy, which I was happy about, but he picked up Mimikyu, which is maybe even a bigger threat to me, and I actually drafted Mimikyu back in the draft, but I dropped it after week 3 after not using it for a single game, so I kind of regret that now, now that I have to face it. But if you saw my 2 battles against U-Turned, you will see that Salmons did a lot in both of those games. He got a pretty nice sweep in the first game and picked up at least 1 kill, I think, in the second game. So that is my main win condition this time around too. Pretty regular Flying UMC Dragonlance set. Flying UMC Fly is of course for his Mega Venusaur. Lets me hit him super effectively without having to use the turn to go up in the air with Fly. And I believe this does OHKO him if he is special defensive without any Dragonlance boosts. But if I can get that, then I will guarantee the OHKO even if he is physically defensive. So that is pretty nice, and he does not have the best switchings to the Salmons either. The old coach had Diancie, but Zorak dropped that, and Diancie was one of the biggest problems for Salmons in my last match against him. But now he does have the Mimikyu, which is an even bigger problem, since with the disguise it can leave any hit from my Salmons no matter how many Moxie boosts I have, and can just OHKO me back with a Play Rough. So I want to try as hard as possible to break the disguise on that Mimikyu before starting to set up with my Salmons. That's not going to be easy, but yeah, I'm running Crunch instead of Earthquake, because I feel like his Metagross might run Shocker Berry, since that lets it switch pretty well into the Salmons and also my Mega Diancie. But Crunch also lets me hit Slowking for super effective damage. And I'm running Dragon Claw instead of Outrage, so I don't need to lock myself into that if he still has his Mimikyu in the back. So yeah, that is Salmons. Next up we have Starmie, and if you saw my 2 battles against U-Turned, you will see how difficult it was for me to break his Mega Venusaur. And I know this Starmie is not the best counter to Mega Venusaur, since it is a water type and is weak to grass, but I don't have many other options since my flying type does not have reliable flying type moves, and my other psychic type has base 75 special attack. So this Starmie is my main offensive check to his Mega Venusaur, but it can still hit him very hard with a Life Orb Side Shock. if he is specially defensive, this I believe a Life Orb Psyshock should almost OHKO him after switching on Rock, Stealth Rock, if he is special defensive. So that's pretty nice, and I really think he will be special defensive to take hits from stuff like my Starmie and Rotom Heat, maybe Mega Diancie. And then I have Scald, which of course hits stuff that Psyshock doesn't, and is also very useful if I can get a burn on his Metagross, for example, or some of his other physical attackers in Mimikyu, I don't know. And then Toxic, just in case I lose my Mienshao and really don't have any way to deal with some of his bulkier mons like Umbreon anymore. And last move I put on Rapid Spin because he does have a few hazard setters, and I am bringing both my Salmons and my Rotom Heat this game, so I'm pretty weak to Stealth Rock, and I could not fit hazard removal on any of my other mons, so I kind of had to put it on this Starmie. I know it's not the best with a Life Orb, just taking 10% damage to get rid of hazards, but I really felt like I needed it, and I didn't really need another move on this Starmie, so I think I have to run Rapid Spin here. But next up we are bringing Rotom Heat with a Choice Scarf. This is my main check to his Tornadus T. It switches pretty well in against it, and I can outspeed him with Choice Scarf, and that is what I have speed crept. And I can hit him pretty hard with Volt Switch, and the only thing that wants to stop me from Volt Switching is his Flygon, but I do have Hidden Power Ice for that, so if I can predict him switching that in, I can get a nice OHKO on that. And then he does not have the best switch-ins to my Overheat either, so I think this Rotom Heat can put in quite a lot of work. And I put on Trick as the last move in case I don't want the Choice Scarf anymore, so I don't need to predict him switching in his Flygon, for example. Or if he uses his Umbreon as a switch into this Rotom Heat, I can give it the Choice Scarf and it will not be that useful anymore. So that is Rotom Heat. Next up we have Mienshao. This is a pretty interesting set, a little unusual. No item, Sword Stance with Acrobatics, High Jump Kick and U-Turn. And this is kind of like a Mega Venusaur lure, since a +2 Acrobatics with no item I think OHKO's special defensive Mega Venusaur, and I think he might try to switch that in on my Mienshao since it otherwise walls my Mienshao pretty well. And I was going to bring Flying Gem on this Mienshao to just get a little extra damage on the Acrobatics, but I didn't know that the gems were unreleased, so I'm not allowed to run that. So I instead had to go no item since there's not really any other item I can easily activate. But the problem with this is that if he notices that I have no item at team preview, he will not switch his Mega Venusaur in on this, so I have to just hope that he does not notice that. Acrobatics also lets me hit his Conkeldurr. I don't really think he will bring that, but it's there, and other than his Mega Venusaur, it does not have that many switch-ins to High Jump Kick. I don't think he would want to risk his Mimikyu taking a hit and breaking this disguise. And other than that, I think Slowking is his only resist, which I can hit super effectively with U-Turn and keep up the momentum, get a free switch into my Starmie maybe. So that's the main job of Mienshao. I'm running Regenerator since there are actually a few mons that I can switch in on with this Mienshao. For example, the Mega Venusaur or Metagross, Conkeldurr. So I think it could be pretty useful, and it worked last time I played Turned, so I think it could work here too. Then we have a Uxie. This is another pretty weird set, max HP, max special attack with Calm Mind and Psychic. This is just a nice little pivot to his Mega Venusaur and can hit him pretty hard with Psychic after a Calm Mind. I don't remember the exact calc, but I think at +1, Psychic does a little over half to his specially defensive Mega Venusaur. So it should be a 2-hit KO as long as it doesn't have like Leech Seed up, so that is pretty nice, and I don't take that much damage from his Sludge Bombs either. And then I of course have Stealth Rock since his hazard removers are not the best. and rocks could be very nice to chip down, stuff like tornadoes coming in on rocks. And then knockoff just lets me hit stuff that Psychic doesn't hit, for example the Metagross and the Slowking, and not just dealing a little bit of damage, but also knocking off whatever item they have will be very useful. Umbreon is another switch into Psychic, but I would really like knocking off Umbreon's leftovers. So that's Uxie, and then the last one I am bringing Magnezone. I've brought this to most of my games, so you shouldn't be surprised that I'm bringing it again. It's a pretty physically defensive. This is my main defensive check to his Mimikyu. I know it's not the best, but I don't have many other good switch-ins to Mimikyu. Like I do have Tangrowth that can hold it a little bit better, but it cannot do that much back to Mimikyu, and just gives Mega Venusaur free switches all day. So that's why I'm not bringing Tangrowth. While this Magnezone can hit his Mimikyu very hard back with Flash Cannon. And then Volt Switch also does the same as for Rogue and Heat. The only thing that wants to switch in on that is his Flygon, but I do have Empower Ice. And for the last move I just put on Toxic, for the same reason I have Toxic on Starmie. Just in case I don't have anything to break Umbreon anymore and I can Toxic him. And since I'm Steel type, I won't get Toxic back by the Synchronize, so that is pretty nice. Yeah, pretty bulky Magnezone, and that is the team. The 6 months I predicted him to bring, I believe, were Tornadus T, Metagross, Mega Venusaur, Mimikyu, Flygon, and probably Slowking. But let's jump into the battle and see what he brought. Okay, so the team Thorak brought is pretty similar to what I predicted. He brought 5 of the months I expected, but no Flygon, which was a little surprise to me since in both of my matches against Turnt, Choice Scarf Flygon was very annoying for my Salmons. But at the same time I kinda do understand why he didn't bring it, since I do have quite a lot of ground resistances and immunities on my team. But I was still very happy to not see the Flygon. But he did however bring the Conkeldurr, which also surprised me quite a lot, since I don't feel like it has the best matchup against my team. Everything on my team outspeeds it. I have 3 fighting resists and nothing really cares too much about Mach Punch, so I wasn't that worried about the Conkeldurr, but I know that it can still deal quite a lot of damage, so I have to be careful around it. But my game plan here will of course be to try to break the disguise on Mimikyu as early as possible and then go for a late game Salmon sweep. So for my lead I decided to lead with my Uxie, since I felt it had a pretty good matchup against everything on his team except for the Mimikyu, but he's not gonna lead with that, and even if he does, just breaking its disguise will be huge. And I also thought getting up rocks early would be pretty nice, since his only defogger is the Tornadoes. So I thought Uxie would be a pretty solid lead overall. He chooses to lead with his Mega Venusaur, which is perfect for me, since this Uxie is built to take this Venusaur on pretty well. So I just get up my rocks here, while he decides to press the Sludge Bomb. And I eat that up pretty well, but here I could start setting up Coal Mines and eventually hitting this thing with the Psychic pretty hard, but I really didn't want my Uxie to get poisoned, so I switched into my Magnezone here, predicting him to go for another Sludge Bomb, which he does do, but Mega Venusaur does of course learn Earthquake, so I have to scout for that, so I switch back into my Uxie, but he makes a very nice play and just clicks Sludge Bomb again. He told me after the game that he just didn't want my Salmons to get a free switch against this Mega Venusaur, but I would never go Salmons that early and risk taking 50% from the Sludge Bomb, maybe even getting poisoned, especially when Mimikyu still had its disguise. I would never send out Salmons that early. That was a great play by him, but that kind of tells me that he most likely does not have Earthquake, so I switch back into my Magnezone to take the Sludge Bomb. But as you can see, now he clicks Earthquake, which actually made me a little mad, since taking so much damage on Magnezone so early was really unfortunate, since I really needed that for his Mimikyu. But it was a very nice play by him. I really don't understand why he didn't just go for Earthquake the second turn, or the third turn I mean. But it was a nice play by him, but here I at least do get the slow ball switch off, so I can get a pretty free switch into my Starmie and start to put a little pressure on his team. Since he does not have the best switch-ins to my Psyshock, he chooses to go into his Slowking, which takes a decent amount, and I can just Toxic him the following turn. But he reveals to be a pretty offensive Slowking with Shadow Ball, and that does 60% to my Starmie, which is very bad for me since I can no longer use the Starmie as a switch into like his Conkeldurr or his Metagross maybe. So that was a little misplay by me. But here I do switch into my Uxie since it can eat up pretty much any hit from this Slowking, even a Shadow Ball. And since Uxie is at this low health now, it can't really check the things it was supposed to check anymore. So I decide to just let it go down here and click a knockoff, knocking off the item of whatever comes in. He goes into his Tornadus, which actually has the Sharp Beak. That is definitely an interesting item option. But here I just click Psychic, deal quite a lot of damage since I am max special attack, before letting my Uxie go down to the burn. But I do have a pretty free revenge kill with Rotom Heat, since he did not bring his ground type and Flygon. And my Choice Scarf, Rotom Heat is able to outspeed this and take him out with a Volt Switch. Now he does know that I am Choice Scarf though, which is pretty useful information for him. But I go into my Mienshao here since it can take on everything decently. He goes Metagross, and I don't want to take a Zen Headbutt, so I U-turn out here into my Rotom Heat. He chooses just to set up Stealth Rocks, and I kind of wish I had Defog here since Rocks are more annoying for me than they are for him. But Overheat is still a pretty nice move to lock myself into since he doesn't have the best switch-ins anymore. I mean, his Slowking is already pretty low, it has to switch in on Stealth Rocks, and he is Toxic Poisoned, so he can't really switch in that, so Overheat will do quite a lot of damage to anything. But he sends in his Conkeldurr, which actually reveals to be a pretty specially defensive Assault Vest set. And here I decide to just sack my Magnet Zone since I no longer have my Uxie, and I don't have that good switchings to this Conkeldurr. So he just takes me up with an Ice Punch and Mach Punch. But here I go into my Mienshao and revenge kill him with the Acrobatics. But now that he knows I have Acrobatics, he's not gonna send in his Mega Venusaur. And that was kind of the point of this Mienshao, to bait in the Mega Venusaur. But here I am in a very tough spot since my Starmie is very low and cannot take a hit from this Metagross. Rotom Heat and Salmis do not want to switch in on Stealth Rocks, and this Metagross is out of range for my high jump kick. So I had to U-turn out here and put him in range for the high jump kick later. I sent in my Rotom Heat since he can most likely live a hit. He goes for Rock Tomb and misses, which really sucked for him since that would have done quite a lot of damage. I still would have outsped though since I am Scarf, unless he's like max speed, but and here I'm still in a very tricky spot since if I lock myself into Outrage, or an Overheat I mean, he can just go into his Mimikyu and get free Sword Stand setup, and I believe a +2 Shadow Sneak does 2-hit or 1-hit KO everything on my team after Rocks, so I couldn't do that. I had to Volt Switch out here, and this is where I make the biggest misplay of the game. I switch in my Mienshao and let it go down to a Meteor Mash. I don't remember why I did this, but it might have been I thought I needed to keep my Starmie alive for his Mega Venusaur, but Mienshao could have dealt with that decently with Sword Stance and Acrobatics. So what I should have done there was send in my Starmie, just sack that off, then go into Mienshao and click High Jump Kick, which would KO him from this range unless he's like very physically defensive. But I think I was also a little afraid that he would go Mimikyu on my High Jump Kick, but even then I can just click Acrobatics and I will break this disguise, which will be very nice for my Salmons. So I don't know why I made that play. I didn't think it through, but at this point I don't know if I can possibly win anymore, since he has so many Pokemon that he never really needs to send out his Mimikyu before I go Salmons. So I kind of just gave up here. I do get another kill though with this Volt Switch on his Metagross. Let me speed up this game a little, and here I go, of course, go into my Salmons. He can go Mimikyu for free here, and the only thing I can hope for now is if he maybe misses a Play Rough, but he just plays it safe and goes for the C move. Let's Snuggle Forever does, of course, Oko me. and he can kill my Rotom Heat with a Shadow Sneak from this range. So that is GG to Lord Zorak. Unfortunately, we get a 3-0 loss against the Sherbrooke Venusaurs in the finals. But as I said in the team builder part of this video, I'm still very happy with a second place. That's a lot better than I thought I would do in this league. And Zorak played super well in this game. He prepped very well as well. I said a lot of wells in that sentence. But yeah, he's definitely a worthy winner of the first season of the UDN. So again, go check out his YouTube channel. I didn't feel like I played my best. I think my team was decent, but I made two very big misplays. One was letting my Magnezone take the Earthquake very early on, and the second one sacking off my Mienshao to his Metagross instead of sacking off my Starmie. That kind of just lost me the game, but it was still a fun game. And before I end off the video, everyone who's watching, I want to thank you all for supporting the Stavanger Vikingvolts this season. You might see me again in Season 2. It's not been decided when that will start yet, but most likely around October or November, or maybe even after Generation 8 releases. So again, thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.